Before we start the show, I'd like to ask you to please hit that subscribe or follow button. Your support is what fuels this podcast and helps us book guests to tell their wild and funny career stories and also provide insight into the future of their industry. And here's the magic part. For every new subscriber we get, a unicorn is born somewhere in Australia, which means in the not too distant future, Netflix will be live streaming a unicorn versus kangaroo boxing match. If you want to see such a spectacle, please hit that subscribe button. And while you're at it, please go ahead and rate this podcast too. I'm not saying you should rate it 5 stars, even though I think you should. But I am saying the number of stars you give this podcast should reflect the number of days in the work week. And now, on to the show.
So she was like, hey, do you want to do this show? And I was like, I don't know. Then they contacted me and they were like, hey, do you want to do this show? I'd actually written a TV treatment. I had sent it to a production company and they were like, okay, thanks, but no thanks. Like, you're really good on screen, but there's no one that would be interested in this show. And that was it. That kind of went to sleep back in 2020. And then it was 5 years until the show was made. And it was pretty incredible. Like, we were all thinking the same thing. Sinan Keshki was a documentarian and journalist, and she was really good friends. She's a producer on many different projects. She's really good friends with the creator, Smriti Mundra, of Indian Matchmaking. And she was like, I need a Muslim hook here to do this show called Muslim Matchmaker. What do you think? And they sold it to Hulu. And the rest is history.
Welcome to the Career Circus, the story night podcast that uncovers crazy career stories. The stories that you tell your friends over drinks that are just too wild, too funny, or too awkward to keep to yourself. This podcast is where we bring these stories to life. Each week, we are joined by esteemed guests, champions from the realms of politics, commerce, governance, sports, and media, who are bold enough to recount their most unbelievable feats and fumbles. From surprising stumbles to hilarious misunderstandings, we venture forth to explore the lighter, stranger side of one's professional quest. So get ready to be shocked and tickled, because this is where career paths get truly entertaining. And today, we're joined by polymath Yasmin Elhady. She's a comedian, lawyer, and media personality who was born in Egypt, raised in Alabama. She's an Egyptian-Libyan American who came to the US at a young age as a refugee. Educated at UCLA and Princeton, she's performed stand-up across the US and UK, including at the Kennedy Center. Her comedy often tackles civil rights, cultural differences, and social issues. On TV, her life story was featured on the NBC show True Story, and she's the host of the Hulu show Muslim Matchmaker. And in addition to her comedy career, she works in public service and is a voice for refugees and women's rights. And she joins us now from Washington. Yasmin, thanks for coming on the show.
My gosh. Hi. Thank you so much for having me. It's so wonderful to be here talking to you on a beautiful, beautiful day in our nation's capital.
Well, let's start there. You work in the nation's capital for the federal government.
Yes.
How do you end up there? What's the story?
I really have always wanted to be a public servant, to be honest. When I went to law school, I really only went to help. I wasn't interested in money, and I wish I was more interested in money. I wanted a career that I could at least have a 401k and a health plan, but not like make a ton of money. That's not why I went to law school. And I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to go to law school. So I felt like, hey, I need to give back. And this is my way of giving back.
So thank you on behalf of 330 million of our fellow Americans. Thank you for doing that.
Absolutely.
Has that journey exposed you to some weird legal cases? And if so, has that ever fed into your stand-up act?
So I try to keep my lanes pretty separate, just out of respect for the public trust and to make sure that what I talk about are the things that kind of honestly like bring me joy and make me tick. And that's really not work. Like, work is good. It creates like meaning and fulfillment. But for me, comedy is really about that joy. It's about therapy. It's about working out my feelings. It's about sharing my stories. And a lot of those things, in the legal world are heavy. They're difficult. And so I kind of keep two very separate lanes for that reason. And it has served me very well.
Okay. So I'm hearing there isn't a work-related story you like to tell at parties.
I mean, no. But what I do say is that I honestly like got up and did stand up in the DC area because one of my coworkers who's an attorney said to me, "Hey, you're really funny." And I was like, "Well, I mean, I'm right." And they're like, "No, you're really, really funny. You should do stand up." And I was like, "Well, I kind of dabbled in it. I did a graduate talent show at Princeton and I had slides in the back and I did really just a funny comedy. I called it stand up, but it wasn't pure stand up really because there was the help of a screen projector in the back. And it was really, really almost unbelievable because I would tell people I'm from Alabama and they'd be like, "No, you're not." And then I'm like showing photos like, "No, I'm really from Alabama. Like, here's me. Here's my dad. Here's us on a farm." And it kind of, I think, expands people's hearts and minds. And it was so fun and kind of scared people at the same time. Like, who is this person amongst us? So that was really cool. And after that, I kind of like put it to rest because I had a baby. I was trying to be like responsible, and I was like, I should just sit here and do this. But man, I couldn't contain my desire to perform and to do so in a way that is funny. And I took up my friend's offer when she said, "Not only are you so funny, but I know a guy." All right, fine. He's my husband's best friend and he runs a open mic at a place called Villain and Saint in Bethesda, Maryland. And that was my first ever stand up and it's on YouTube. It's not very good, but
What
that's
year
how
was
the
that?
story 2017.
Okay. So from there to 2025, come a long way.
Come a long way. Yeah. And I mean, the first time I actually performed what I would call a stand up was 2015. So I've been doing this off and on for 10 years, but really seriously since 2017.
It's
8
such an
years.
American story as well because here in London, if you're remotely funny, I don't think there'll be a lot of people saying, "Hey, you should try stand-up." They'll be like, "Hey, fetch me some tea."
Like, "Hey, how about you zip it? Keep it to yourself." That's funny. That's funny. You guys are sad over there. What's the deal? Why? What's the sadness?
It's about losing the American colonies. We see the fun
No,
we're missing out on.
it's all the colonies. You've lost all your colonies. So that
Yeah.
makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But you've spread your influence everywhere. Like you would think like joy is what spreads, but no, it's not. It's mostly sadness and tea and crumpets.
And David Beckham
And David Beckham. Can't
and the
forget that
Beatles.
guy. And the
Yeah.
Beatles and the Rolling Stones. And I feel like and Coldplay and U2, like that's actually a lot coming from the UK now that I think about it. Okay, I've realized you're sad and extremely creative to try to counter the sadness. And that's why you are cultural Hercules is what you guys are, actually.
Those two things do go together. I should point out that you two are Irish,
I know, they're Irish. They are Irish, they are.
but
But that's part of the kingdom
yeah,
at one
British
point.
Isles. It's all the same.
British Isles.
So you've performed comedy for a bunch of audiences, including at the Kennedy Center, corporate events, comedy clubs. What's the weirdest
Yes.
stand-up experience you've had?
I was at a Jewish retirement home.
Where was this?
It was in Maryland. Man, that was the worst gig I've ever done, for sure. I mean, I walked in and these older Jewish folks, they were like, "What is this?" And then many fell asleep. I thought some died. It was not good. It was like 30 minutes of complete silence and snoring.
When you say your act killed, maybe literally killed.
It might have literally deceased some people.
Wow.
That was amazing. That was a tough one. And then another one, I did a Muslim event and they put the scholars in the very front, like these shiuch, like scholarly men, 60 and above were in the very front and they just kept like not trying to make eye contact with me and look to the side and just dart their eyes and just like completely like avoid me at all costs. So that was 45 minutes of complete silence.
Why were they doing that? Is that because they felt that your act was inconsistent with how they thought Islam should be practiced?
I think that's accurate.
But I don't know if they could prove that. Like, I'm not a scholar, but I'm struggling to see the scripture in any faith that would argue comedy is not so spiritual.
I don't think it's anywhere in the scriptures. It's just not. And I think that they just felt like they couldn't even make eye contact with me because I'm a girl and I was, dressed up. I was a dressed up little girl up there and they're like, "Why is she there? She should not be here. And they kind of were smiling. Like some of them I definitely got, like they started smiling while looking down. Like I could see they were cracking some smiles, but they just didn't want to make any audible noise so as to presume that they were supporting me.
You know what? If that story happened today, they'd probably go home and type into ChatGPT, like, I saw this really funny comedian, but I'm a Muslim scholar. Am I allowed to laugh?
They probably would. They need a fatwa. They need an edict about it. Like, is it haram to laugh? Is it against our religion?
There's a scholar in Cairo right now who's been asked the question, and he's like got his scroll out and his quill, and he's probably writing an answer to that right now.
I love the quill. And, there is actually, in Egypt, there's something called Dar al-Ifta, which is the House of Edicts. It's like a place where you actually ask people these questions, and they email. They use email these days, just so you know.
Wow. Not just an ancient civilization.
Yeah, and carrier pigeons on Sundays.
Yeah, we don't have carrier pigeons in the UK. We have owls. So, Harry Potter was based on a true story.
Yes, you have owls. I actually really like your culture. I've decided. I want to move there.
You should come. It's fun. London's a great place for comedy, for law.
Yeah, I want to be creative. I want to be creative there. That's what I need to be under a dark cloud. That's what I decided.
Well, we have the Sun every day in the UK. It's just a newspaper.
The Daily Sun.
Yeah, thanks, Rupert Murdoch. Yeah, you should come. It's a party. London never disappoints.
We're good. We're going to give them free advertising. I don't like this.
Yeah, look. Okay, Rupert, you got to pay for this.
Yeah, you got to pay for it, big bucks, and not sexually assault you either.
That's true. I would not like that. Now, speaking of big cities, we met years ago at the Yes and Laughter Lab competition in New York, and I can vouch for what you shared a bit earlier when you told me that you're from Alabama. I was like, yeah, but really, where are you from? Because there's no way you're from Alabama. So that really did floor me. Then when we were there at the Yes and Laughter Lab, you were pitching a comedy special, potentially on HBO. What happened with that?
Yes. So I shopped it, but I'm not famous. And so the only people that are making specials these days are really famous people. And those are the people that they pour a lot of money into. I'm trying to get into these like new faces and things like that, but I didn't have representation for a long time. And I think it's because of how gorgeous I am. I think that's probably it. But it was very difficult to get representation. In Hollywood, it was very difficult. I went on so many rounds of meetings and generals, and I was trying to pitch. My special was called Elhady, an Alabama scorcher. It was a play on my name because my name is Elhady, which actually in Arabic is Elhady, which is the one who guides. But in Arabic, it sounds like so profound, and in English, it just sounds like I'm a hottie, which is sexy. So I went with that, and it was Elhady, an Alabama scorcher, because it's like, what am I doing from Alabama, like burning the whole thing down? So I did not get it sold. At the same time, I think people kind of were aware of me, and there was a whole team from Maralta Films who had worked with Netflix, who had worked with Hulu, and they said, hey, she's actually really special. I wonder if we can do other things with her. And I remember also, I did get one thing from the Yes and Laughter Lab is I got a gig at the Netflix is a Joke taping for Are You Still Listening podcast. And it's actually wonderful because anytime that anybody listens to the comedy that I do on that, because it's Sirius XM, I get a royalty check. It was my first time being properly paid for my art, on a recurring basis. So that was really cool. So I'm very, very grateful for that. And then I think it just opened other opportunities up. I ended up touring with some of the comedians, including Dylan Adler, who's now a Just for Laughs new face in Montreal, and working with Bethany Hall and Katie Borum, who do that program. And they're just phenomenal. I ended up doing a book event, not a whole tour, but just one event at Politics and Prose here in DC discussing Katie Borum's book. And that couldn't have happened without the Yes and Laughter Lab. So I didn't get my special sold because Hollywood's racist, but I did get a lot of other opportunities, and I got to travel. And then, of course, I landed Muslim Matchmaker on Hulu.
Yes. Well, just before we get to that, shout out to the Yes and Laughter Lab. You mentioned Bethany, Katie.
Yes.
Also shout out to Mick doing
incredible.
And
Mick Moore, of course. Yep. He's amazing. He's amazing. Yes. I forgot to mention him.
Even though my submission didn't make it to the final.
I'm so sorry, but that's because you were robbed. No, it was so good. Don't say that.
Do you remember what it was?
Good. Yes, it was It was like a spy, like not spy. It was like what was it? It was like wait, don't tell me. It was like kind of like the Pirates of the Caribbean, but it wasn't. It was about like wasn't it about like Muslim inventions and like contributions or like a treasure hunt? It was like a national. Well, it was kind of like a
Kind of.
treasure. It's like a wasn't it? It was like a scavenger hunt of like all the Muslim contributions,
No, no, clearly it wasn't that good because no one remembers it.
or like a spy one.
It was a pitch for a heist about a bunch of South Asians in London stealing the Kohinoor diamond back from the British Crown Jewels.
That's what it was. It was like anti-colonial comedy, and so it was about jewels, but not national treasures. Kind of like national treasure. That's why, in my mind, I put it as national treasures. So it was like espionage and a treasure map. But I'm sorry, but it was very good. I remember the pitch was very good. You're a very solid writer.
Thank you. I remember the
Yes.
pitch as I skewered Pitbull like on 3 slides. That's what I took away from it.
It was really good.
So you mentioned Muslim Matchmaker, great
Yes.
show on Hulu. I know you've got fans in Belgium, which you probably don't
Yes.
expect because I'm willing to bet 50% of Americans don't know where Belgium is, and then the other 50% don't think about Belgium. But I know people there who love the show.
Thank you.
How did that come about?
Yeah, and I'm so blessed. By the way, I've worked with some Belgian PhD students, and I'm in their research. It's actually kind of interesting. I have a little bit of a Belgian thing, a tie to Belgium, and then I was in Sweden, and I got a really great write up about my comedy in Sweden, and we're going to go on tour again, which is kind of exciting. The show is remarkable because I had watched Indian Matchmaking, and it's the same like executive producers and creators behind that. And I remember watching it in one night, binge watching it in one night. I was obsessed with the show, and I go, I could do the show. The truth is that before I was an attorney or a comedian, I was a matchmaker. I matchmade my brothers, and I started matchmaking other people. And now I'm at 58 marriages, which is crazy. But I've been doing it for 18 years. So, like I'm not good at math, but I'm averaging like 60 to, like I'm averaging like 3 marriages a year, basically. And it's been fabulous because I realized that what I was doing was kind of thinking about temperaments and people's complementarity. And I had to like reverse engineer what I was doing so that I could like help more people. So it's really, really cool to do the show because they recognized that I had that talent. I used to have a business that was a matchmaking business. I closed it up. I had folks that were helping me, and Huda was one of the people who assisted me, who ended up being the co-star on the show. And now she's got a full-fledged, beautiful matchmaking business. And it's findloveinshallah.com and findloveia.com. Anywho, so she was like, hey, do you want to do this show? And I was like, I don't know. And then they contacted me and they were like, hey, like, do you want to do this show? And I said on the Mehdi podcast, like, I'd actually written a TV treatment. I had sent it to a production company and they were like, okay, thanks, but no thanks. Like, you're really good on screen, but there's no one that would be interested in this show. And that was it. That kind of went to sleep back in 2020. And then it was 5 years until the show was made. And it was pretty incredible. Like, we were all thinking the same thing. Sinan Keshki was a documentarian and journalist, and she was really good friends. She's a producer on many different projects. She's really good friends with the creator Smriti Mundra of Indian Matchmaking. And she was like, I need a Muslim hook here to do this show called Muslim Matchmaker. What do you think? And they sold it to Hulu. And the rest is history.
Amazing. And when is season 2 coming out?
I know. So we're all waiting. We're all like hoping and praying. So we don't know yet. We haven't been renewed. I don't know if we will be renewed because of the current climate is a little bit against, I think, anything that looks like diversity, equity, and inclusion, even though diversity, equity, and inclusion are just part and parcel of like life. They're just reality. But I think there's a lot of trepidation is what I'll say. Trepidation in the studios touching anything that might look like that and kind of being punished for that. And I think that the truth is that, if the show didn't have vision behind it, it would have never been made. So I truly believe that even if it has one season and one life, it was truly visionary and had a lot of integrity. And it's something I'm really proud of. And I really hope that the next show replaces us. It's like even bigger and better. And even more people are inspired to make beautiful art.
Yeah, inshallah. Based on the critical response and the commercial response, I think there's enough to go for season 2. So it would be a shame if DEI roll back.
Yes. Yes.
got in the way of that. But could
I
58
agree with you. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
58 marriages, that's great. I've done one. And you,
I'm so proud of you.
yeah, I mean,
I'm so
I haven't really
Go ahead.
tried. It just kind of defaulted into it. But I do have a kind of matchmaking story to share of my own. It's not a match that I made, but in June, Zoran Mamdani became the nominee for the Democratic Party for mayor
Yes.
of New York City.
Yes.
And my sister texts me. She's like, yeah, I matched with him on Hinge 5 years ago. I'm like, you did what now? And she's like, yeah, I matched with him. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm very happily married. I'm like, I don't care. What does your happy marriage have to do with anything? We could have been in City Hall. I've been to Gracie Mansion. I was invited by Mayor de Blasio to Gracie Mansion for the iftar in New York City when I lived there.
Amazing.
And I'm like, Gracie Mansion is epic. We could be in City Hall. Screw your marriage. And then an hour later, I calm down. I'm like, okay, maybe living in the public eye isn't such a great thing. It's fine. You have your marriage.
And yeah, they both are happily married, so that works well. But yeah, she could have been the new first lady of New York.
Yeah. And on that note, you mentioned moving to London.
Yes.
Please come. But before you come here, move to New York, register as a voter.
Okay.
Vote in the election.
Check, check, check. Yeah, I would love to. I would actually love to move to New York or anywhere. I live here in DC because of my career choice right now, but I would love to. I'd love to go to New York and help out Mr. Zoran. He's a good guy. He's a really good person. I've met him several times, and he's like a genuinely good human being.
I love him because partly for vanity reason, like he's me. He looks like me.
He looks a lot like you, actually.
Yeah, so,
you guys do look a lot like, and you're even the same kind of size.
really?
Yes.
I thought he was really tall. Oh. So he's basically me if I was running for office.
Yeah, like I say that with loving respect. Like he's just, maybe I'm wrong, but he feels very 5'8".
Okay. Shout out to all the 5'8" there.
Let's go. Shout out to the 5'7" and the 5'8". Aspirationally tall.
Yeah, well, this is why I love going to China, because when I go to China, I'm considered very tall.
I love that. Well, you know what? Tall in character means something.
Well, that's
probably not economically, but
no,
you know what I mean? Figuratively.
Yeah. Well, the one thing we have in the UK is a little bit of character. It's beaten into us.
You guys have a lot of character. Your education system is so much better than ours, too. That's probably why you're also more creative. You guys are smarter. I think that's like the education system here produces the situation that we're currently in. So
a little bit, yeah. And I looked to Canada. I'm like, oh, you got a PhD in charge. And I looked to Mexico. Oh, you got a PhD in charge. Looked to America. Like, oh, okay then.
You have a TV personality.
Yeah. But TV personalities, that you're one. You could find yourself in the whole corridors of power.
Yeah, maybe. I shudder to think of that because I think that all politicians have to give up a part of their soul, and I don't love it. But Jon Stewart would be a nice candidate. People are saying maybe Jon Stewart should run.
What do you think about that?
I'm not against it, man. I'm really not. Why not? Let's fight, like a war of mud. At least this is an intelligent celebrity. At least this is like a very well-read TV personality who's in the news and media and culture. So why not? I'd vote for him.
You say that, but I would push back on a couple of dimensions. I love Jon Stewart, and so I'm not opposed to his candidacy at all. I would support his candidacy. However, if he runs for Senator of New Jersey, what does that really change? It doesn't really change anything. It doesn't really change the balance of power. A senator can only influence so much. Sure. And then the second thing is, if he becomes president,
yes,
how can he exert more influence? Because he's pretty influential right now.
He is.
And so then you say, another celebrity president? Haven't we learned our lesson?
I know. But at the same time, you have to fight McDonald's or Burger King.
Which is what Gavin Newsom's doing.
I like Gavin Newsom. I like him a lot.
He connected with me on LinkedIn 5 years ago. I had no idea who he was.
That's crazy. Your sister Hinge matched with Zoran Mamdani, and you LinkedIn matched with Gavin Newsom. You are such a... I'm so jelly right now. I deactivated my LinkedIn, but now I'm about to come back on just to get Gavin.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, Gavin's social media efforts are confined to Twitter, where he's amazing right now. We want to see him extend that to LinkedIn. But the crazy thing is, I had no idea who he was. I think he was an attorney general, some state position. He wasn't governor at the time. But since then, Gavin, if you're listening, I have tried to slide into his DMs on LinkedIn, pitch him to come on the podcast. No dice yet, but one of these days.
You got to slide into his DMs. Make it really weird. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe all caps. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We'll be back with more from Yasmin after this quick break. OpenAI is paying around $400,000 per year for someone to work on storytelling and communications. Because they know, in a world awash in AI-generated content, authentic storytelling is needed to cut through the noise and convert hearts and minds. Don't take my word for it. Listen to investor and entrepreneur Keith Richman, who posted about this on LinkedIn. According to Keith, what matters is the ability to connect with people through narrative. AI can generate infinite amounts of content, but cannot create genuine human connection. It can mimic tone and style, but cannot share real experiences or build an authentic community. The better AI gets at producing content, the more valuable human perspective becomes. Now, you may not have $400K to invest in comms if you're an executive trying to position yourself as a thought leader, or an athlete trying to reinvent yourself for a post-playing career, or a startup trying to gain investment. But you don't need that kind of budget. What you need is Story Night, an independent strategic comms firm that applies the talents of award-winning Hollywood writers to your communications and marketing. Story Night will help you leverage talent that has written for hit shows on Netflix, Disney+, NBC, CBS, and more to write your newsletters, speeches, memoirs, decks, and more. To learn more, visit the Story Night website at story-night.com. And now, back to the show. How do you balance being a mom and a comedian and a public advocate and a lawyer?
Not well. I don't balance them well, but I try my best to just time block. That's actually how I do everything. I work in 1 to 2 hour increments, and then I work in spurts. So like even when I go on tour, I don't spend more than a week away from home. So if I'm going on tour and it's multi-city, like 13, 14 cities, which is what I'm about to, embark on pretty soon here in the United States, I do Saturday and then I come back Sunday. I will fly out Saturday morning, do the show on Saturday, and I come back Sunday. If I have to do Saturday, Sunday shows, I'll, come back very late Sunday or really early Monday. So that's how I try my best to protect my time at home with the children. And I have an excellent support system. I have my parents who are thankfully still alive. And they just provide that like love and comfort that I really want for the children and stability for them. I always remind them how much I love them too, because I think that's the most important thing. And everything else kind of comes second for me. Like if my kid is sick, like I need to be home. Like I just period. And that's the way that I've seen my parents raise us. And I think that that's the right way for your children to feel kind of, I think, securely attached and confident that you are their priority. Now, I don't know if it'll be returned. I sure hope so. That's why I'm always fantasizing about how I'm not going to love my daughters-in-law and that they're going to run away and take my sons away and how I want to murder them. But whatever, that's my inner dialogue.
On that note, if your life was made into a sitcom, and
yes,
it kind of almost was with True Story.
It was.
What would be the title of the show and what would the premise be? Would it center around this anxiety about future daughter-in-laws?
I think it would center around never feeling like, doing enough. So like a little bit of mom guilt. It would also be called Undeniable, I think, because it's like, as a Muslim woman, you have to be so good that you cannot accept the no. Like you have to be so damn good and so damn resilient that your peers could be half as talented as you and get twice as many opportunities. So you almost have to be not twice as good, but like sometimes 3 times as good as your peers in order to be undeniably good enough to get something. So it would probably be like the poster of it would be me, half business suit, half apron, like holding one baby, carrying a briefcase and a skillet. It would be like how you really have to do all the things and be pulled in many different directions. Like, I don't know if there's shows like that just show the reality of it is really hard to be a working mother and to try to balance those things and then, find love and joy in life and keep it light when things are very heavy.
Sounds like a pitch for a reality show about your life.
Yeah. It would actually be kind of, I think, for pretty interesting
Would
to
you
see
do
me
that?
go. Yeah, I think I would. I mean, I've got now good experience with reality TV. Like we had such a great camera operators and the cinematographers and the directors of photography were so damn good. And we became so close that I feel like I'm good with people. And as long as I'm comfortable with you, I could probably be myself on screen. So I do think that reality TV does best when you're authentic.
Yeah. On that note, were there any crazy stories from the production of Muslim Matchmaker? There must be.
So I have an NDA. I can't really discuss some, but I will just say that some people were doing things that were very un-Islamic. Let's just put it that way. And we had to sort of like, oh my God, we can't tape you doing this. Like, please don't. So there was a lot of protection that happened. And I am very, very grateful to the entire team behind Maralta and ABC News Studios for being flexible enough with us to, I think, show people in the best light and not necessarily just be salacious, because it could have been very scandalous and salacious.
Yeah, I mean, because you're trying to solve a problem. But that's the thing, right? Reality TV, tabloid media skews towards the sensational. So thanks for resisting that temptation. You did a ton of press as well. What was that like? Because I imagine that was your first time doing press. I saw you on The View. I'm like, I know her. What was that like?
That was so surreal, to be honest, just to meet Sunny. Like, there's some people who I like, Anna Navarro, like, there's people who I've like been watching for years, Joy Behar, for many, many years, and have just loved Sarah, and I just remember thinking, what happens when you meet women that you really respect? Do they respect you back? Like, is it going to be a conversation where I really feel like they're peer, or am I going to be in awe of them? Am I going to get tongue tied? So I was just trying to prepare myself mentally to be like, any news that I do, I have to convince myself, even if I have to lie to myself, that I belong there. I belong at the table, that I belong there, that I am not an imposter, that I didn't get here on accident, that this is a gift, it's a blessing, but I'm worthy of it. I'm worthy of it. And I think that that's like a big part of just maturing as a woman and as an artist, to think I am really good at what I do and I can just be in flow, but I have to really believe that I'm good enough to be in any kind of space. So that's when we were talking about also the whole sitcom thing, like I think it would center around that, just like people not feeling like they're good enough or they're not doing enough. There's so much mom guilt that we have, but also just as women in general, because I only know that experience because that's my body. That's like my intuitive experience. And I feel like men are a lot better, maybe I'm wrong, at like tackling the insecurities, feeling like they do belong, feeling like they have the right to be at whatever table that they're sitting at. So I would just, just as a way to share the truth of our lives, put that in art in some way, and like how to trust yourself. But the entire media press tour was everyone was so gracious. It was so fun. And, to be hugged by everybody and really embraced by everybody, it just felt like such a warm welcoming.
Yeah, I would think that as a hijabi, everything's earned, right? Like the world that we live in isn't predisposed to give you a leg up. And so by definition, any table you're at, you do belong.
Thank you. What's so interesting is that I have a coworker here who's not very nice. And, when you work in any public sector, there's going to be not nice people that are there, and there's going to be great people. And like, that's just the truth of it. And we all need to just cope with the people that have microaggressions against us. And she made some comment that was well, what are you going to do? Cause I was changing positions within my field. She's like, oh, what are you going to do? Cause like DEI is over now. It's like, how are you going to get another position? I was like, what? Well, I'm not suggesting that you got your job through diversity, equity, inclusion. I'm like, no, that's exactly what you're suggesting. And let me tell you that any space that I've entered, I've had to fight for. So I don't know where you're coming from with this, but no, thank you. I'm not going to let you tell me that shit. And thank God I landed in a very good spot. But I just feel like there is some people who would say, no, you didn't earn it. Like, you got there for diversity, equity, inclusion. I'm like, dude, I'm a Muslim, Arab, pale-skinned woman who wears hijab. Like, on paper, I look white. And in person, I look foreign. So what DEI would really help me with that? Please tell me, what rubric of diversity, equity, inclusion would actually get me a job? It's all working against me. there's God. But
Yeah.
there's God, right? There's God, and then there's talent, and there's belief, and you have to believe in yourself. You have to.
Yeah. Well, you talked about the American education system earlier. I think one thing that the US does really well is drill kids with self-belief. We don't do that here.
Yes. You guys are more realistic, practical. We're delusional. Delulu is the Salulu. I'm not sure if you knew that.
I did not. Well, considering the DEI story you just shared, but also more broadly, your career as a lawyer, as a comedian, and as a TV show host, what's the moral of the arc? What's the moral of the story of the arc of your career?
I think connection. Everything that I do, I seek connection, and I seek real, authentic connection with people, with stories. In my job, I'm serving the public, and I'm giving answers to people that really need them, that are waiting, and they're waiting earnestly and sincerely for a response and for me to finish a case. And whether that be in comedy or in matchmaking, I'm trying to connect with people and let them relate to me in a way that I can better their life in some way. Maybe it's to relieve stress. Maybe it's to find you a partner. Maybe it's just to let you learn about yourself a little bit more. But that is what we're doing, I think, as comedians and performers. We're trying to let you see yourself in us. Say the things it's hard to say. Recount the things that you yourself may have dug very deep and buried deep, and uncover it, to be able to deal with it, to be able to discuss it openly, bravely, and hilariously, so that you can laugh at yourself and that you can laugh with me as well. And that connection, I think, is so crucial to feeling healed. So all of it is connection, all of it is healing. And I think that especially in matchmaking, there's so much healing conversation that happens. Like I was at a Mo Amer taping for Netflix yesterday. He was phenomenal. It was at the Warner Theater. It was incredible. But I sat next to some people who I had never met. I went alone. I didn't know anybody. I just wanted to kind of go like incognito. Of course, people recognized me there, but it was fine. I just wanted to meet new people. And so I sat next to people, an Indian woman who was Hindu, a Iranian man who was Muslim and Shia, and then a white woman named Sarah who just like was going along for the ride with them. And they all ended up being attorneys. And some of them were single, some of them weren't. And just like making them laugh, because I am a comedian, helped, I think, just bring a smile to their face, because it was a heavy week. Like everything that's going on right now, especially if you're in the legal profession, it's very difficult. You've got a lot of client calls. You've got a lot of difficult issues that you have to be resolved, and they have to be resolved right now for your, economic reasons and for social reasons. And they were sitting with me, and you could tell, like, once I got them laughing, it was easy to talk to them, but then I could talk to them in a healing conversation about their relationships. And then they just felt like, it was like removing a little burden. It was like healing. It was like giving them a little hug, and it was beautiful. And they were like, "Oh my God, we got to follow you. Oh God, we got to watch this show. Do you do this on the show?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do this on the show." And I try to do it in a way that's funny and kind of lighthearted. So I think that's the arc. I really do try to make people not feel alone.
I love that. It's connection is something, I think it's in this world of AI, connection is something that is always needed by humans. And I think AI will have its limitations because of that human need for connection with other human beings.
Yes.
But I'm also hearing that you're never not matchmaking.
I'm never not matchmaking. I'm always matchmaking. So this guy, Amir, he's like, almost 40. He's Persian. If anybody wants to hit me up, well, after listening to this podcast that you think he'd be a good match for him, let me know. He's an attorney. He's really smart. And he's just kind of an introvert. And he's a quieter guy. He's an analytical guy. And so he has a hard time connecting. But it was really fun talking to him, because I could see like a woman like kind of like me, like someone who's more gregarious and more open and kind of warm, is going to bring out the best in him. So hit me up. DM me.
Yeah. Final question.
Yes.
And that is, where can folks find out about your comedy tour?
So you can find out all my comedy tour dates on YasminElhady.com. You can find me on IG at Yasmin Elhady. It's long, it's annoying, it's silly, it's a play on words, and it's because I don't want to ever be famous. And you can find me on TikTok at Yasmin_Elhady. All the tour dates will be up on those platforms, but the website is going to have the most up-to-date tour dates.
Excellent. Well, speaking of your tour, it extends to the UK.
Yes.
And fair warning, when you are in London, I will take your passport and introduce you to my friend who's an immigration lawyer in London, and we're going to sort this out.
I'm going to just move to the UK. Oh my God. I would love to move to the UK, honestly. What am I even doing here? What is this? What's happening? I need to be more creative. I want to write a couple pilots, so I should head over there for some writing.
Yeah, that's it. We can open a writer's room together.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I love this. And thank you, Story Night, for highlighting all these fun career branches that you can take off your tree and not just feel stuck in one place.
Yeah. Well, yes. Thanks for the plug. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for the laughs. Thanks for the friendship. Always
Absolutely.
a pleasure connecting.
Pleasure's all mine.
Thanks for doing the show.
Thank you for having me. The pleasure's all mine. Hugs. Big hugs.
We don't hug in Britain.
We don't hug in Britain. We don't hug in Muslim
No,
countries
that's
as well. But we don't hug in Islam.
No.
Hugging is haram.
Hashtag truth.
Hashtag don't touch me. Hashtag only touch the ones you love.
Hashtag tell Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah. Hashtag this is why Zoran Mamdani won.
Yeah. Can't wait to meet
that
guy.
Less hugs, more facts. How about that? Less unwanted, less unconsented hugs.
On that note, thanks very much.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to the Career Circus. To get a breakdown of what made Yasmin's story so gripping, check out Story Night's newsletter, Deconstructing the Saga, at story-night.beehive.com. On the next episode, we'll hear from author and executive Lady Suzanne Hayward. Lady Hayward serves as the Chief Operating Officer of Exor Group and is chair of both CNH Industrial and Iveco Group. She's also a prolific author who wrote the best-selling memoir Wavewalker and What Does Jeremy Think?, a biography of her late husband. Tune in to hear tales of a childhood spent sailing across the world, what it's like to be appointed commander of the British Empire, and what can be learned from spending time in and around Whitehall. The episode drops next Friday. Until then, goodbye.